100 years, right?
100 years. I remember the day. It was raining, but we got out under some umbrellas, and it wasn't all that bad.
Have one more minute to our meeting starts.
Sure.
It is now 7 p.m. Good evening and welcome to the Eastpointe City Council meeting on Tuesday, January 19, 2021 at 7 p.m. We always like to start our meetings with prayer, which is always led by our Councilwoman, Ms. Lucido, and that is followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Please follow along. Ms. Lucido.
Thank you, Mayor. Dear God, we thank you for the many blessings you provide us. Please guide all of the people of our city, state, and country to be more compassionate, understanding, and welcoming of one another. Let us all work together as we become the best that we can be. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance
to
to the flag
of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, welcome everybody. Can Ms. Walton, good evening, do our roll call, please?
Good evening. Mayor Owens,
Here.
Councilman Curley,
Here, Eastpointe.
Councilman DeMonaco,
Here, Eastpointe, Michigan.
Councilwoman Lucido,
Here, Eastpointe, Michigan.
and Councilwoman Moore,
Here in Eastpointe, Michigan.
and Mayor Owens.
Here, Eastpointe, Michigan. Thank you. Next, we have the item of approval of our agenda.
So moved.
Support.
I believe Ms. Lucido wants to add a school board recognition proclamation on here, correct, Ms. Lucido?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to add a proclamation to recognize School Board Appreciation Month. And I believe Mayor Owens is in the seat of that if she wants to read it. If everyone would do so.
Sounds good to me. I'll amend my motion to that.
Okay, thank you. We have motion and support for the approval of the agenda with the addition of the proclamation. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes,
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
thank you again. Right now, I am going to open it up and read the proclamation. This is a City of Eastpointe proclamation for the recognition of the School Board Recognition Month of January 2021. Whereas the City of Eastpointe recognizes the importance of public education in our community, our state, and our nation. And whereas the City of Eastpointe recognizes the importance of locally elected men and women representing our community in the governance of our school districts. And whereas Eastpointe Community School Board members invest countless hours of their time in service and trained to keep abreast of education issues. And whereas the City of Eastpointe recognizes the future of our great land lies in the vision they have and the goals they set for education. Now, therefore, in recognition of these loyal public servants, the City Council of the City of Eastpointe does hereby commend the dedication of the Eastpointe Community School Board of Education to our children's education. Be it further resolved that the City Council of the City of Eastpointe, on behalf of the entire community, does hereby proclaim January 2021 as School Board Recognition Month and urges our fellow citizens to extend personal appreciation to each of the school board members of the Eastpointe Community Schools. Thank you for your work and your dedication in our community. And thank you, Ms. Lucido, for giving me this, and Mr. Gasson and Ms. Walton putting this together as well. Now we're going to the hearing of the public. Our first hearing of the public, we have two. We will have one in the beginning and one at the end. During the hearing of the public, the mayor and council do not answer your questions, but we will have the option to answer it at the end. And if you're not able to stay and you want to leave your questions in the chat box or email us, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. The hearing of the public is now open. You get 3 minutes before and you get 3 minutes after. And we ask you to be respectful, state your name and your residency. And I will time you once you begin as well. Ms. Walton, can you please open up the first hearing of the public?
Yes, Miss Mary Hall Rayford would like to speak.
Okay, well, hold on. Good evening. Let me make sure the timer is on so I get you. Okay, yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for the recognition for the school board. I'm not sure, I don't see anybody else on, so I don't know if they knew, but thank you at any rate. I'm speaking at this particular time because I wanted to encourage everyone listening on or will be paying attention to the video tomorrow to please join us for a town hall meeting on January 30th, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. I did send out invitations to all council, and I would hope that everyone joins and we'll have a time to get some residents' concerns aired and addressed and come to terms with one another. That's the whole purpose of this town hall, and I hope to see everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations again on your win on our school board.
Thank you.
You do a good job. Anyone else, please?
I'm taking
Yes.
a look through now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am,
Hello?
we can hear you. Good evening.
Okay, good. Hi, it's Karen Morajan, Eastpointe resident. I'm not sure what happened, but the last council meeting, when I gave my comments, they were not included in the meeting. So I don't know what happened, but I will have to repeat those comments, and I'll check back when it's uploaded to ensure that the comments made it in. As I stated in the last meeting, there was exotic animals that were used in a live nativity scene on December 13th over at St. Veronica's. And being a Sunday, there's no animal control available. And I am very, very, very disappointed that Brian Pilar is no longer our animal control officer. That's outrageously disappointing. He's really busted his butt to make sure the animals in Eastpointe are safe. And I also know that he presented all of his findings for the last petting zoo that was scheduled in secrecy, and that was shut down the night before it happened. I have been informing council for the longest time about all of the animal neglect going on in these petting zoos and the threat and danger to public safety. But, you know, you don't want to listen. None of you want to listen. You just sit there and, you know, you stare off into space. That is absolutely appalling. We're dealing with the animals here. They deserve to be treated with respect and not neglected. No one is following MDARD regulations when these petting zoos are coming in. Okay, and the people who own them, they don't care. It's all about profit and gain for them.
30 seconds,
Because
ma'am.
where are those animals going when they're no longer babies? They're going off to slaughter. So stop with allowing these petting zoos and live exotic animals being used in winter events. You need to keep these animals and the public safe, and don't make fun of my comments. That was really stupid what you all did on that previous Zoom meeting. That's really
Time is up,
appalling.
ma'am.
First
Time
Amendment
is up.
rights, respect them.
Time is up. Thank you, Ms. Karen. Next person, please, that would like to speak.
I'm taking a look through now, Mayor.
Okay.
I don't see any additional comments, no hands raised, and there's nothing in the chat.
Okay, well, moving right along. The first hearing of the public is now closed. Moving to approval of the minutes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would move that we accept the minutes of the regular meeting for January 5th, 2021.
Support.
Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes?
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore, Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
We have no scheduled hearings. The next item is unfinished business. Discussion and possible motion on Eastpointe resolution calling for the Michigan legislature to support proportional representation via ranked choice voting. This is put back on here by Councilman DeMonaco. Councilman DeMonaco, you have the floor.
Sure, thanks, Madam Mayor. So, yes, we had tabled this, just put it back on the agenda. Some changes were made. In the background brief, it reviews those changes. We removed 4 clauses, added 5 clauses. And that's basically about it. Some of the clauses added were regarding some more basic details about ranked choice voting that I think are very positive aspects of it. And that was about it. So that's what we have in the packet. Here is the final draft as of now then that I'd be seeking for approval.
Council, any discussion? Councilwoman Lucido?
So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of say a little comment. I did go over this with Mr. DeMonaco. I think we added a few points that I think that were very important to kind of highlight on the benefits of ranked choice voting. I think it's important tonight for me to pass this just because I do believe that if a municipality or a community, a city, a township chooses to use ranked choice voting, if their elector votes to use ranked choice voting, like I believe that they should be able to elect their local officials that way if that's how they choose to do so. So I will support this evening. And with that said, I will make a motion to approve the resolution calling for the Michigan legislature to support proportional representation via ranked choice voting.
Any more discussion? I think, did you have your hand up, Councilman Curley?
Yeah, she made the motion. Did Cardi, did you support it? I didn't hear you.
Yes, I support it.
Yeah, Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I think everybody already knows how I feel about this. I intend to vote no like I would have when it was tabled. However, so our citizens would be up to date as well as if this passes that our senator and county commission would know. I would like to have all the whereases read into the record. Since we're voting on the entire resolution, all these whereases I think are important that our citizens know what we're voting on. So I don't know who's going to read it. Maker of the motion or the person who seconded it.
Well,
I'm happy
just
to read it.
Absolutely.
since we having a small discussion, I'm gonna say why I'm not voting on it is because if it was a good choice, it would have been something that the residents would have voted on their own. And it wasn't something that the residents wanted on their own. So I don't want to speak on behalf of the residents and voting and calling for a resolution in support of something that they really had no say-so in doing. So I will not be supporting this tonight. Anybody else would like to say something before I go to, we have motion and support?
No, Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
is somebody going to read the whereases?
Oh, Councilman DeMonaco, he put it together. So did you want to read it, Councilman?
Sure, I'm happy to, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Sure, so this is a resolution calling for the Michigan legislature to support proportional representation via ranked choice voting. Whereas a strong democracy encourages public discourse and debate, which is best achieved when elected leaders accurately reflect and represent their electorate. Whereas residents of local communities are best positioned to make decisions that affect their own community. Whereas ranked choice voting elections guarantee that elected officials are elected by a majority of voters, whereas plurality elections do not. Whereas RCV is proven to be efficient and successful in all cities with the overwhelming majority of voters across all age, gender, income, and racial and ethnic groups, reporting that they ranked their ballots and find RCV simple to use. Whereas in local nonpartisan elections, RCV would eliminate the low turnout and unrepresentative local primary and give voters more choice in the high turnout November election. Whereas ranked choice voting is easy. Instead of voting just one candidate, you rank your choices in order of preference, 1, 2, 3, etc., knowing that if your first choice doesn't have enough support to win, your ballot can count for your second choice. If your second choice is defeated, your ballot can count for your third choice, and so on. Whereas under RCV, ballots are counted in rounds, eliminating candidates with too few votes to win and reallocating their ballots based on your voters' next choices until one candidate reaches the winning threshold, or in the case of multiple seat elections, until all seats are filled. Whereas ranked choice voting has been shown to increase voter participation, give voters more choice, and open the political process to more voices, encourage candidates to reach out to more voters and build a broad coalition of support to win, expand political participation by historically underrepresented communities, opening the political process to new voices, reduce mudslinging and promote civil issue-oriented campaigns, eliminate wasted votes and the spoiler problem, help mitigate the influence of outside expenditure groups in campaigns. Whereas most elections in the United States and all levels of government in the United States are winner take all, which does not create a reflective government. Whereas our current voting systems largely inherited from our history as a British colony and most of the world's former British colonies, including South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand, have abandoned winner-take-all elections in favor of proportional representation in order to strengthen their democracy and provide for equitable representation for all. Whereas the vast majority of democratic nations across the world use some form of proportional representation, whereas winner-take-all elections often leave large number of voters with no representation or voice in government whatsoever. Whereas a legacy of racial oppression and discrimination in the United States combined with winner-take-all elections have led people of color to often be on the losing side of elections, historically excluded from elected office and blocked from winning adequate representation by their elected officials. Whereas many jurisdictions, including Berkeley, San Francisco, San Leandro, and Oakland, California, Telluride, Colorado, Amherst, Cambridge, East Hampton, Lowell, and Worcester, Massachusetts, Tacoma Park, Maryland, Portland, Maine, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, and St. Paul, Minnesota, Las Cruces and Santa Fe, New Mexico, New York City, New York, Cincinnati and Cleveland, Ohio, Basalt and Benton County, Oregon, Payson and Vineyard, Utah. Hopefully I said all those correctly. And Eastpointe, either currently or in the past, used proportional representation for municipal elections for councils or boards which produce politically, geographically, and racially diverse councils. Whereas the residents of the city of Ferndale in 2004 passed a charter amendment to use instant runoff voting for municipal elections, but the election method cannot take effect until allowed by state law. Therefore, be resolved that the city of Eastpointe supports passage and the implementation of proportional representation via ranked choice voting for local elections throughout the state at the discretion of each individual community, similar to House Bill 5282 from 2019. Therefore, it be resolved that the resolution be sent to State Representative Ertel, State Senator Voino, County Commissioner Kleinfeld, and the governor-appointed Black Leadership Advisory Council.
Okay. Any more discussion on this? Yes,
Madam-
Councilwoman Lucido.
I just wanted to let you know, I do agree with you. I think it should only be used in communities that vote to use it. But I do think that communities that vote to use it should be allowed to use it. So I just wanted to clarify that. I do agree with your point that if you don't, you shouldn't be forced to use it. But if you choose to elect your elected officials, the community, I support it.
And we were to our attorney, was this something that we were asked to use, or was it something that we chose to use?
Madam Mayor, this ranked choice voting was the result and part of a consent decree entered into between the City of Eastpointe and the Department of Justice. When the Department of Justice first approached the city, they demanded that the city create several different districts in the city. When the city council at the time refused to enter into any type of agreement that would break the city up into districts, a lawsuit was filed, litigation was then commenced, and that was, ranked choice voting was the end result of the litigation, which resulted in a consent decree, which will be expiring here in the near future. So this did not go to the vote of the people. It was a result of a lawsuit that was filed in the federal district court.
Thank you for that. And since it wasn't a vote of the people, I would not be voting for it.
Madam Mayor,
Anything- Yes, sir.
I just one more comment. This in no way that if this passes and it says that Eastpointe is in favor of this type of election, the fact that it passes in no way makes us do ranked voting after this November is the last time that the DOJ is enforcing what we have to do. So I just want to make it clear, this is not a motion that we're going to continue with ranked voting after this November.
That is correct. Yeah, the consent decree would be expiring. This particular resolution does not extend in any way that consent decree. The only way that consent decree could be extended would be by agreement of the parties, and that would have to be approved by the federal district judge.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, this is a resolution calling that we support it. So we have a motion and we have support. Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Lucido,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
No,
Mayor Owens,
No.
Councilmember Moore,
No.
Moving right along, reports from administration. Starting with our city manager, Ms. Doom. Good evening, Ms. Doom.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
As many of our residents know, we had a number of water breaks last week, water main breaks. We had a valve that unfortunately was open, and we had too much pressure coming in from Detroit Water, which caused havoc with a lot of our water mains. So I want to say thank you to our residents. As many of you know, we had a really difficult time losing one of our employees who was working on a water main break, and the kind words are so appreciated by the department as people spoke out and said, take your time, be safe. You know, just words of encouragement, knowing that they were having to deal with some brown water, or some folks had their water shut off for a little bit. So it's really heartening to hear the kind comments that people made, that they're very concerned about our safety. And that did quite a bit for the employees of Public Works, because they're still hurting. And they're going to hurt for a while because they lost one of their best workers and one of their best friends. So again, thank you to all the community that was so kind and so supportive of all of the people who came out to fix these water main breaks. Secondly, as we know, I know we're a little tired of hearing this, but the COVID numbers are still high. We had all been very hopeful by now that, you know, the immunizations or the shots would be available, and the numbers would start to go down, but we still have to be very careful as we now have a new strain that is more contagious. So we're keeping up with our efforts here at City Hall, cleanliness, masks, and doing the best we can to keep it from coming within, our ranks here so that we can provide the best service to our community. Our DDA meeting, which is Downtown Development Authority, met last week, and they have got a lot of interesting ideas and plans to really help revitalize the downtown. So they're looking at the possibility of reaching out to the council for possible purchase of a tax reverted property. They've got some more exploration to do, but you may be hearing from them in the near future. Now, for those of our residents who struggle with paying their taxes, we have something called a poverty exemption, and that is statewide. And our assessor and I sat down and took a look at the new guidelines sent to us by the State Tax Commission, which are very, very stringent and do not allow our boards to give a certain amount of leeway to people who have perhaps suffered a sudden loss of income in the new year, but had adequate income in the last year. So our assessor will be coming forth. He'll be telling you a little bit about this. And of course, also we set the new guidelines, which are federal guidelines as to who would qualify for hardship. There's a good possibility that more of our residents may qualify this year than had in the past. So if people are struggling to make ends meet, struggling to pay their bills, you just may be eligible for and these are 1 year at a time, hardship exemption. So if you're having trouble, if your neighbors are having trouble, reach out and contact the assessor's office. They'll be able to guide you through and give you some important information as to whether it might be of benefit to you. We know a lot of people are out of work this year, especially those in the food industry, a lot of the retail industry. We know they're all struggling. So just, I'm going to put that out there. He'll come before the board soon with the new guidelines. And I'm going to be, everything's Zoom, of course. I'm going to be attending the Macomb County Clerks Association meeting shortly, as it's never too early to discuss our next election. So we'll discuss, what's happening, what changes there are, and how we go forward, as our next election will be in November. And then finally, I'll also be attending the International City Managers Association meeting. And this is a countrywide, organization. And I think we're all on the same page. No matter where we live, we're going to discuss how to keep our city strong, keep our services high, as we continue with what sometimes seems like endless COVID-19, but we know it'll end, but just not yet. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Even any questions or concerns for our city manager? Thank you. How is our crime rates and things going in as far as the safety in our community? You have any numbers or updates?
I did send out an email last week with some of the crime rates, but we can also have our police chief. I believe he's on. I know our fire chief is, and have him give you a little bit of an update if you'd like.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Director. We have two directors, our fire and our chief of police. Who wants to speak first?
I can speak first. Hi, Madam Mayor. If I don't know if you guys know about it, but I just recently posted on our webpage, actually it's the City of Eastpointe webpage on the police department, our annual reports for 2020. And inside that report, it talks about the police and fire stats for 2020, and also has our violent crimes posted. Those are the crimes that we have to report to the FBI each year. But all in all, as I stated before, our property crimes have been reduced. Larcenies, home invasions, robberies are about even from last year. Assaults are about even. Unfortunately, we had 6 homicides last year compared to 3 the previous year, but we've cleared 5 out of the 6 so far. And you'll get more information on the last one. We're still investigating that, but all in all, the COVID, I don't believe it had any impact on a lot of our crime. We're in pretty good shape, and we're going to come up with next year with many enforcement details. We're hoping to get this traffic unit going. That's one of the biggest complaints from our citizens of the speeding cars. And we're doing everything that we can right now to put police vehicles in the subdivisions and enforcing the traffic laws.
Okay,
That's good.
sounds good. Is there anything that the residents can do to better help the police do their job? Because you can't
Well,
be everywhere.
you know what, I think we do a phenomenal job keeping in touch with our residents. We're very transparent. We have 3 Facebook pages, a city one, we're combined with police and fire. We have animal control and a neighborhood watch. All 3 combined, I believe we're up to 18,000 followers. And anything that we get, we put it out there. Sometimes we don't put it out immediately. You know, people, to be honest, some of the residents know about the crime before they call me. So I'm trying to get information, but we do our best to put what we have out there, what we're working on, but we have to be very careful sometimes since it's an open investigation. But I think we have a very good rapport with our residents, and they private message us, we return their messages, they call us, we return the calls. So just follow what we say on Facebook. We're going to get back to these neighborhood watch meetings soon as many of us become or get the vaccination, and looking forward to that.
And how do they sign up for the neighborhood watch, if you can let them know?
Is all they have to do is go in our neighborhood, just type in on the browser Eastpointe Police and Fire. They'll have our Facebook page. Is all they have to do is click join, and that's it. We usually go on there every day or every other day with updates.
So please go on your Facebook page if you join the neighborhood watch, and help us continue to keep Eastpointe safe. And let's help our men in blue do that. Thank you, Director.
You're welcome.
We want to go to, I'm sorry, Council, do you have any questions for our Director of Public Safety? Seeing none. We're going to our Finance Director, Mr. Blum. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I do have one topic tonight. The water bills that went out at the beginning of January. Every January they go out a little bit late due to the time off around the holidays. So that's not unusual. What was unusual this year is the printer, who normally has it out within a day or two, the bills did not go out for another week after we had sent it to them. And then the post office is still slow. The first bills did not hit people's mailboxes till last Thursday, and a large portion of the city still has not received their bills even as of today. So I'm requesting that council authorize me to waive penalties for the month of January, because there's a lot of people that the due date's Thursday and they still haven't even received the bill yet. And that's the only topic I have, unless you have any questions.
No, sir. Any council members have any questions? I know we need to do a motion and a vote for that.
I guess, Madam Mayor, my question just for you, Mr. Blum, why didn't you just add it to the agenda on Friday? That would have been helpful.
Well, because we didn't know we had this problem till late Thursday, and the administration's cut off on Wednesdays. Council has till noon Friday, but administration doesn't.
So what's the specific motion you'd like to see then?
I just need council's approval to waive penalties for January.
Okay.
It's not an ordinance, it's not a resolution, just council agrees to do it.
Okay.
Council?
Well, Madam Mayor, I will make that motion that we authorize to waive the penalty fees for the water bill for the month of January.
Or
Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido,
yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonaco.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for our Director of Finance? Seeing none, moving right along to our City Attorney, Mr. Albright. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. City administration asked that I touch on this topic this evening. As the council is aware, I've requested that an amendment be made to the city's current medical marijuana facilities ordinance with regard to the makeup of the committee that will be deciding on the issuance of the various licenses. The concern that the city administration has, though, is that there have been reports of individuals inquiring at City Hall about purchasing homes in residential areas with the anticipation that they would be able to obtain a license and utilize a particular residential structure for use of a license. That would not be permitted under the current medical marijuana facilities licensing ordinance, nor any anticipated future amendments. The current ordinance says that the licenses have to be maintained only in freestanding buildings. And so that would not qualify for any residential structures. I'd also like to take the opportunity to let the public know that back in 2019, the City Council passed an ordinance regulating smoke that emanates from different properties. It's a noxious odors ordinance. So if there's somebody who is living near a particular residence or other structure and odors and smells are becoming a problem, there is a way for the city to deal with that. And a citation can be issued to the owner of that property if in fact they're maintaining their property in a way that is causing noxious odors to leave the property and be a nuisance to the surrounding area. That's all I had for this evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for our city attorney? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. Moving right along to new business. This first item under new business is special land use approval for Foot Locker. Council.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would move to approve the special land use site plan approval for Foot Locker at 17755 East 8 Mile Road with the recommendations of the planner.
Support.
Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes?
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes. Next item, the adoption of resolution number 21-1915, temporary special approval for outdoor seating for social distancing compliance in response to COVID-19. Council. Yes, ma'am.
I'll motion to approve resolution 21-1915, temporary special approval for outdoor seating for social distancing compliance in response to COVID-19.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes. Thank you. The next item is adoption of resolution number 21-1916, a resolution of the City Council to adopt the education, training, and travel policy for elected officials. Council? Anybody want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
The document that our city attorney wrote up is a fine document. I have one suggestion and one problem, that the word education is used multiple times in the document. And it says education and training, education and training. I would like to see the word education totally eliminated and in its place put training and conferences. Using the word education is so broad that one could apply for almost anything under the term education. So that would be my suggestion to begin with, to open up the conversation, that to basically eliminate the word education and substitute it with the training and conferences.
Anyone else? Ms. Lucido, Councilwoman?
I think I would agree with Mr. Curley's suggestion. I think when this money was originally put aside for us to use. It was to make sure that we could have the ability to keep updated, go to different conferences and things like that, which is in a form of education, but the idea was to be used to stay updated on different legislative decisions made at a state level that affect us and things like that. That's what the money was put aside for, so we could have the ability to stay updated on those issues.
I have a question to Mr. Albright. When was this created? When they put the money into a fund for educational purposes, when was this created? What year was it?
I'd have to defer to Ms. Doom on that question, Madam Mayor. I'm not sure when that particular policy was created by city administration.
Okay, the question I asked that is because Councilwoman Lucido said it was created because of this, and I thought at the time Ms. Lucido was part of that creation, and since she wasn't, to say what it was for is invalid. So if you wasn't part of the creation, you can't say what it was for until the people who are here, who created it, can tell us what it was originally for.
Madam Mayor.
That was an opinion, so.
That was my opinion, I agree. That was my opinion, just looking back at past budget discussions when it comes to this item. And it hasn't always even been in the budget. There's been years past that it's been removed completely out of the budget where councils haven't had any money in the budget for these expenses, which might be what we need to look at for this year because we don't know what the financial situation of the city is going to be and how it's going to be affected with COVID anyways. So moving forward, we might have to consider, this upcoming year, taking it out of the budget for those purposes once we see where our financials are going to be when we do the budget for the 21-22 fiscal year. But like I said, just from going back and just reading past, it just seems that the past councils have always referred to this as being for like training, not necessarily for education. And that's where I am basing it off of just past councils discussions.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
Yes, Madam Mayor, may I speak?
Yes, Councilwoman Moore.
All right, thank you. As I was reading over the document, there were some things I highlighted. Well, one in particular, where it says that number 3 on page 2, where it talks about meals and that meals would only be reimbursed for official travel requiring an overnight stay. So in my previous life, I went to numerous conferences that started at 8 o'clock in the morning and ended at 4 or 5 in the evening. So are we saying, so with this document, is it stating that if we're at an all-day conference that is something pertinent to what we're doing for the city, we are not able to eat lunch on the city, or how would that work? Do we fast all day? I mean, how would that work?
Mr. Albright, you put it together.
Albright.
You have a question? I mean, an answer for that?
Yeah, that's certainly a valid question. The document that's before the council this evening is for discussion purposes. What I attempted to do was utilize what the council was looking for based on the motion that was made. And then I reviewed education, training, travel policies of several different municipalities across the United States. And in reviewing all of those and taking different sections out of those, and then putting them into a proposed policy that then the council could have a discussion on this evening. Then of course, also adding some additional language that I thought may be beneficial. But this is simply essentially an outline, a beginning outline that the council can go through and add provisions, discuss provisions, delete provisions, or clarify provisions. This was mainly a starting point. And if there's anything in there the council wants to delete or add, this would be the time to do so. I know that sometimes when there are conferences that meals are provided during conferences, but if the council wanted to alter that proposed language in any way to provide meals, the council can certainly do that this evening.
Madam
Anything
Mayor,
else, Councilwoman? I think
Okay.
Councilwoman Moore wasn't done yet, Councilman.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on
Okay,
the
yes, sir,
question.
go ahead.
That was okay. I think it says unofficial city business reasonably requires an overnight stay. I think your example, it would be reasonable if, for example, it was in Lansing or something like that. You're talking about the reimbursement number 2, I believe, right? Is that
No,
what you're saying?
for 3 for meals, when it says that the meals will only be reimbursed for official travel requiring an overnight stay. And I've been to a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
conferences that start at 8 in the morning and they end at, 4 or 5 in the evening. And I don't think that that would be reasonable to not be able to at least eat lunch.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that language can certainly be changed to however the council would like it to read.
Okay, Councilwoman Moore.
Okay. Let me see what else I see. So right here where it's procedures and criteria, number 3 starts on page 1. But I highlighted the first paragraph on page 2. It is expected that registration for education and or training is booked in advance to avoid the need for reimbursement claims for this expense. So now with the word education, well, you all are asking for the word education to be taken out of that. So that would only be for training purposes?
Training and conferences.
Training and conferences.
Mhm.
Okay. Also, let me see, another thing that I noticed. I'm sorry. All right. And it also says here, page 2 of the recitals, page 2. Now, therefore, it is resolved. This would be the resolution. I noticed that there was a statement in here that said that the education, training, and travel policies for elected officials as shown in Exhibit A shall be applicable to cost and expenditures for education, training, and travel. And it said insert A or B below, where it says effective immediately, and then there was a retroactive. Where would we take that retro to? Like a retroactive, like if we were to vote on this, say this meeting or next meeting, would we go to, where would we retroact it to? We wouldn't do it from that day forth? Mr. Albright?
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to answer that question. At the last meeting, there was a discussion about possibly having this particular policy have retroactive effect. There was no discussion as to when that particular date was to be. And so while I was drafting this proposed resolution, because there wasn't a time certain that was discussed, that's why I have either having the resolution become effective immediately. For instance, if it was passed this evening, it would be effective immediately and it would be applicable to all future training and conferences and travel, or it could become effective at some point in the future. And I'm just going to throw a number out there. This travel policy or training policy shall be effective 30 days from now. And then how it is put on the resolution, retroactive to, and then I left it blank. If the council desired it for this policy to be retroactive back in time to a certain point, again, I didn't know what that time would be. I just know that there was discussion at the last meeting that this policy may be, if passed, retroactive to a point in time in the past. And so that's why there's the in parentheses, insert A or B below, because while in drafting this resolution, I was not clear on when the council wished that this policy become effective. And so
Now,
there's
who
why
wanted,
which are
I'm
there.
sorry. Who wanted you to, what council member wanted you to add the retroactive?
Believe Councilmember DeMonaco in making the motion, I believe it was part of the motion.
Okay. Thank you for
Yeah,
letting us know.
I could address, yeah. it
Okay,
was-
I didn't know, so I asked him. Okay, thank you, sir. Oh, Councilman DeMonaco, did you want to say something towards it? Because I know you put it on here and Councilwoman Moore asked that question.
Sure. I was just going to agree with the end of what Mr. Albright said there. It was part of the motion. We just put it in here that it'd be retroactive to anything that has not happened yet. So any training or conferences that hadn't happened yet.
I guess he wanted to know, why did you want that language in there? He put it together, but he works for the city. So when we ask him to put stuff in there, we want to know why certain council members want certain things in a policy. So since you asked for that, I'm trying to get clarity why.
Sure. I'd like any training that city council does to, abide by this resolution.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
There was another thing in here that I had a question about, or I don't know how the rest of the council would feel, but under unallowable expenses, it says alcoholic beverages, expenses of a spouse, personal entertainment, theft, beauty. The F, it says airline or other trip insurance. I think that paying for an airline ticket for certain reasons, as long as it's approved by council, doesn't need to be like not allowable, because I know that you got invited to do like the Harvard class this last summer, but were unable to attend because of the pandemic. And that is something that I would support, that training that you were going for, I would support to pay for your airline ticket to attend that, because that was a great opportunity for you as an elected official. So I think that removing F from under 7 is something that I would think would, because it's not always going to be that way. Sometimes I think airline might be necessary.
I kind of read it differently. I read it says airline or other trip insurance. So I read it as saying that the city would not pay for insurance if you bought an airline ticket. Not that you can't buy an airline ticket. I think it refers to, I don't know, Richard wrote it, I didn't.
Right.
What is it supposed to be, Richard?
Mr. Curley, what I'm saying is that I think as long as we approved for the purchase of the airline ticket,
Yeah.
we should be able to purchase an airline ticket for one of us to go to a conference or training if we deem necessary.
If I could,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
yeah, the reason that is in there, Madam Mayor, members of council, is if the council is aware that the particular member is purchasing for whatever reason airline or trip insurance in order, because it's of a benefit and it's going to perhaps save the city possible loss in the future, and the council's approves that, it certainly can be approved. This is more of the council approves a member to go on a particular seminar, and then the member then buys airline or other trip insurance, and the trip insurance or airline insurance turns out to be very, very costly. And then the member submits a receipt and says, I want to be reimbursed for that. And then the rest of the council says, whoa, that trip insurance was very costly. We don't think that was something that was necessary. So that's why that language is in there. But if it's something that's approved when the tickets are purchased and the council knows about it, then it certainly could be something that the council approves.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think it still should be left out of there.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to go back, and when we get done with the discussion, I would hope somebody's writing all these changes down for Richard. We're obviously we can't pass anything today, So we'll kind of have to start all over on January 2nd. But retroactive, can we talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, sir, please.
Define it a little bit more.
Yes, Councilman DeMonaco. Or did you want to define it? I'm sorry. Did you want to define it or you wanted
No.
him? Oh, Councilman DeMonaco, you want to define it? Please.
Sure. I mean, I was just saying anything that hadn't happened yet. So, I mean, if there's any pending items, we should put them on the agenda as like myself and Mayor Pro Tem Lucido did to go through this policy. I mean, I can make a date, December 1st or something, if there's any pending requests back that far, or November, I mean, whatever, to catch all the pending requests. I don't have any pending requests for conference or travel other than the 2 that are on the agenda. So if nobody has any, then it's a moot point.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the discussion? When was this originally started getting discussed? When Ms. Moore added the travel or the education policy on the agenda? What meeting was that? Was it the second meeting in December? Does anyone remember?
It was in December. So you want to go back?
15th, yeah. So no, I was thinking that's when we should go back because that's when we started this discussion. So anything, I think after that would be probably if we were to do it retroactively, would be to then, because that's when we started having the discussion.
I think we should start it when we come up with a policy. If we come up with a policy, we start it when it's created. If we started retroacting all things, a lot of people will be getting out of jail right about now, right? So, so saying that when you create a policy, you go on that day when it's created and you move forward. So, because if that's the case, it's a lot of stuff that people will go back and start trying to do retroactive things. If you all know what I'm saying. So for her to start a conversation and want to go back to what she said, and it sounds, something doesn't sound clear to me. Councilman DeMonaco?
I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with what's on the agenda. I don't know if I need any changes.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, because if we're going retroactive, and I mean, my mind would think, when did this policy where we were actually, where the money was allocated in the first place, did we go that far back? Because that's where, it originally, money was allocated for this certain purpose. And how far back would that be? Would it be years back? I mean, it could get to be a sticky situation when we start retroacting things, because one person can say, all right, December, somebody else can say, well, let's go back when they started allocating money for these events in the first place. So that could be really a sticky situation. I believe that it should be, if this policy is adopted, I believe that it should be from the day that it was adopted.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to go off subject because I know we're talking about the retroactive part, but really quick, I just had a question for Ms. Moore. Under meals, what would your suggestion on how that be worded? I'm just trying to write this down so I have them all. Okay.
Well, I don't think that it should be, meals would only be reimbursed for official travel with overnight stay. It should be like a certain amount of hours that you're actually at a conference, because like I said, overnight stay, you could be at a conference all day. They may not, some do offer meals, some don't. So maybe anything over, 5 hours. I don't know. What is like a fasting time where a person would be like their sugar would drop low. You know, I mean, some people blood sugar drop low after so many hours of not eating. But you know,
I can put in, let's say, do 5 hours. That sounds fine to me. I mean, I just wanted to write it down. So
yeah, I just knew that overnight that wouldn't work because there are conferences that last all day long.
right. And some people might not just choose to stay overnight. I mean, like if I were to drive to MML in Lansing, Capitol Conference, I might want to drive home that night. I might not. I might have my kids at home, and I might not be able to stay the night. So I might spend all day there. I know. I agree with you.
Yeah. Any other decisions on here?
No, just a comment about the meals. Yeah, you might have a 1-day conference, like Sarah said, in Lansing. It starts at 9 o'clock. And so you drive up to Lansing and the conference is over at 12:30, 12:45. So before you come back home, you go to one of the restaurants there in Lansing and have a quick bite. And I don't have a problem if a council person gets reimbursed for that.
I was looking at number 5, when it says an elected official traveling on city business in accordance with this policy that involves an overnight stay may request a cash advance. I think when we're doing things as a city, everything should be paid for through the city manager and nothing handed in cash, if that's what that means, or a cash advance, because we want to make sure that that person that's taken the class and is taking the class and also it's affordable. So for instance, if we are staying in a hotel or things like that, we don't want to pay a person a lump sum of money and things like that. We don't want anybody touching cash or anything like that. Not saying we don't trust each other, but to do checks and balances, I would rather have things done how we've been doing it. So for instance, when I take classes or things like that, the city manager handles that through city funds directly with her. Is that what that means, Mr. Albright, when it says cash advance?
It does. It might be for a situation where the member does not want to spend his or her own monies on the front end, that they, for whatever reason, are requesting a cash advance. And then that paragraph also provides a very strict accounting requirements, that any request for a cash advance shall first be submitted to the finance director sufficiently early for the finance department to process the request. And then cash advances for travel and meal requests will only be allowed if adequate appropriations exist in the appropriate budget and the request for the cash advance has further been approved by the city council. And then it also provides that an itemized expense accounting together with proper receipts or other documentation shall then be paid or provided to the city for any expected balance of the advance. So there are protections in there, but again, if the council wants to modify or delete that provision altogether, it can do so.
Yeah, because in the past, what we've done is if we stayed at a hotel or we taken a class, the approval goes through council, then the city manager approves it and it's paid through the city funds with a credit card, a city credit card, and it's directly done within the city. No cash is handed or passed through. I like it that way. It's clean and it's better than cash. And if we do need to get reimbursed for food on our trip, to show those receipts to our city manager, and she will give it to the city finance director, and he can reimburse through a check.
And
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I agree with that too, that we strike number 5 altogether.
Okay.
Let me ask a simple question.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry if it's so simple. We're talking about overnight stays for a hotel or motel. We're talking about meals. If I still had all my money and the conference I went to, including meals, is still under that amount that I've been assigned to, then there wouldn't be a problem. And if I want to, you know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. You're saying if
So
you get allocated.
But if I pay for a conference and it costs every dime that I've been allocated, Well, there's no money for me to get reimbursed from the city for meals, would there? That's an open question, which I don't get an answer. Thank
Probably
you.
because I don't know too many people that have spent over their allocated amount. And that is why, the proposal from Councilwoman Moore was saying, if a person does go over their amount, and since we have a pot of money and it's left over, that it can go to a council member so that we can make sure that only that pot is used for educational training and conferences only. So for instance, if you do go over that $1,500 and I have $500 left and I'm not using it, it's still in that pot of money of education for mayor and council. So you wouldn't be going over, it would still be in that pot of money.
Only if that council person says you can use my money. No, that's not right. If I still have $500, which I don't think I do, if I say no, then that council person would have to bring it up on an agenda item at one of the council meetings. Say, hey, look, I need X amount of dollars. I can't get it from any other council person because they think they might use it. I'd like to get approval from the council for X amount of dollars. But council person just can't take somebody else's money just because it's there.
You're right, but since it's not our money, it's the taxpayers' money, that's a different
Yes,
subject.
with a check you got the other day is taxpayers' money. That has nothing to do with it.
Absolutely. Anything else on this? Because the taxpayers are listening and they want to move forward.
Well, Madam Mayor, I made a proposal, and the only person I only heard from one person, so that's out the window unless another person doesn't have a problem with taking the word education out of there. We're just blown in the wind tonight.
I think the word
So,
education.
Well, does anybody else agree with that? We should take the word education out there besides Sarah and myself?
That's fine with me. I think we should put a motion on the table and we can just make a couple minor amendment motions and just then have something to vote on, as opposed to right now, it's just been various things by various council people that we haven't as a whole agreed on.
Okay, we have a motion.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Marco, do you want me to make the motion with the changes that we've already discussed, or?
That would be good.
You are ready to make the motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
one big motion.
Okay, so I will make a motion to adopt resolution number 21-1916. With a retroactive date of December 15th of 2020. And then also change the education, training, and travel policy to just training and conference policy. We're changing item number 3 under subsection 4 to remove the overnight stay to a conference or training that lasts over 5 hours. Removing section 5 under section 4 under reimbursement, just removing all of section 5. And then under section 7, F, airline or trip insurance unless previously approved by city council. And that's it.
I did hear you say remove the word education, didn't I?
Yes, I changed the whole thing to just being the title.
Seminars and conference?
Training and conference.
Training and conference, right.
Training and conference,
Okay.
yes.
Councilmember Lucido, what was on page, with regard to the meals, that was meals will only be reimbursed for official travel requiring a conference stay. And then I know there was mention of 5 hours.
Yes, a conference or training that lasts 5 or more hours.
Okay, so conference or training that lasts more than 5 hours.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, one more thing is number 5, saying that if a council member cannot come to a meeting or a training or a conference due to certain illnesses or death in the family, he or she needs to go to the ethics board. I don't agree with that. What's unethical about someone having an illness or a death in the family and have to explain it and can't make a class? What's unethical about that?
Sure, Madam Mayor, I think it was just to confirm that it is ethical. I mean, I'd assume if there's a death in the family, they would understand that and approve it. Just so if it's something else, maybe then they could make a determination. That's how I read that.
So if somebody dies in my family or somebody gets ill, I have to explain that to the ethics board, my personal business of a death or illness in my family because I missed a class. Is that what you're saying? And that's unethical?
I'm not saying it's unethical, but that is what the policy is requesting. Yes.
That's what the policy that our attorney, who we paid to put together. So we are in control of what goes in this policy, Mr. DeMonaco.
Right. I completely understand that. Just like the retroactive piece is, if we want to vote that in, we can vote it in because we're the policymakers.
Yes, sir. So I was just asking, why is that in there? So I ask you, since you are one of the policymakers.
Yeah, I am.
That's a good idea.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
did I get support on my motion? I just don't remember.
I think Councilman Curley did.
Okay, I just want to make sure. All right. Sorry,
Oh,
thank you.
Madam Mayor, I know there is a blank on Article 4, Section 2, where it says actual cost not to exceed blank per day. Did the council want to fill in a dollar amount for that particular subsection? It's under lodging and telephone / internet. That was the only other blank
Oh, I see
on,
what you're saying. On page 2, under item number 4, number 2.
yes.
I mean, I think that's kind of hard because it really depends on where the
What's
conference
going on? Yeah.
How are you going to put a dollar amount in here when you don't know where you're going to go? If you go to an MML conference on the island, the room's going to cost you a heck of a lot more than if you went to Grand Rapids. So
Right.
I don't know how you possibly can pull that figure out of your head and put it in there.
What if it's
Again, excuse me, Cardi. Again, if you don't go over the allotted amount that you're allowed, fine. I mean, when I used to go up to the MML, we had people that absolutely insisted on staying at the big house, and the rest of us stayed down by the water at one of the small motels. Had a lot more fun, I can tell you, than if you were at the Grand. So I don't think you can put a dollar amount in there. That's what I'm saying.
I'd propose we could just remove that. It'd have to be approved by city council anyway ahead of time.
Right.
Madam Mayor?
I'll support that. Just that council approves the cost ahead of time for lodging.
Right. Councilwoman Moore.
Yes. With the ethics board, to me, it's almost unethical for something traumatic to happen in your family and you have to go before a board to explain yourself if you can't make a class, and that will be broadcasts for everyone to see. That's almost, I mean, if it's something that's dealing with your family, something happened, somebody got sick, somebody got hurt, somebody got injured, you may not want to broadcast that to everyone other than the person that you have to come before. But to have to go before a board for that, that's not even ethical to do.
Madam Mayor, could I address that?
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, in another, a couple of the other travel policies that I was able to review, instead of the ethics board, they actually had they had, instead of the ethics board, the city attorney's office. And when I looked at that, I said, I'm not really comfortable myself being in that type of decision making. And so I thought that the ethics board may be a suitable substitute rather than the city attorney making that determination. But that the council could create a new title if it chose to do so. For instance, ethics ombudsman or something like that, as opposed to the actual ethics board, or the council could just take it out of there altogether. But other policies I did see, they use the city attorney in that capacity. And I just don't think that's something that our office wants to be in a position making those types of decisions.
Well, first of all, this writing does not say you have to go before the ethics board. What it says, you have to write an explanation and send it to the ethics board. So you do not have to appear in person at the ethics board. I mean, that's what this is.
Madam Mayor,
Councilwoman, yes.
I would just think that, I don't know if Mr. Albright can add this in there, that we can ask that the ethics board keeps our name anonymous when they discuss it at their meeting to approve it or not. If that is a concern, like for me, it's not a concern. If someone passed away in my family, if someone got ill, I have no problems writing to the ethics board. But if it is a concern to some of you, I would be fine with them approving it and not with our names anonymous when we write that letter. The ethics board would know who we were, but once again, they're making that determination, and we appoint the ethics board anyways, so they're working for us.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
understand that, but to my understanding of what I'm hearing is that the writer of this document that we also hire just didn't feel comfortable with us going to his office for this, so decided to make it the ethics board instead of what he had seen in other people's policies, because he didn't feel comfortable for his firm handling this. Is that what I'm hearing, Mr. Albright?
It's a decision that I don't think, I personally do not think that the city attorney's office should be making in that capacity. Yes. If the council wishes our office to participate in that role, we will do so, if that's what the council orders us to do. But I just thought that it would be better having an issue like that being decided by more than just one individual.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Moore, were you done? I apologize if you wasn't.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm done.
Okay. We have a motion and support. Please call the roll.
Oh, wait, Madam Mayor, were we going to keep that, the ethics board under that section? Was that going to be altered in any way?
I think we have the majority that wants to keep it, correct?
I just wanted to confirm that.
It's up to you and Councilwoman Moore if you would want me to amend the motion to do like the anonymous, ask the ethics, has the ability to ask the ethics board to keep our names anonymous when making the request. I mean, that's up to you. I would, like I said, I would support something like that. And Mr. DeMonaco, did you have one more change too? That you just talked about that I missed in my.
I think since the motion was made, it was just the one about how much money per day for lodging.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm fine with the ethics board part.
Okay. Okay, moving right along with those changes. We have motion and support. Please call the roll.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry, could we just repeat it just one more time? Sorry, Mayor Pro Tem. Just so we're on the same page again, since we discussed a couple extra items.
Okay.
So the motion would be to adopt the resolution with the retroactive date of December 15th, 2020. Change the title to the policy to training and conference policy for elected officials. Under section 4, meals, subsection 3, to be in the 5-hour conference. Removing subsection 5. Under subsection 7F, changing airline or trip insurance unless previously approved by city council. Under reimbursements, subsection 2, just wording in there that lodging be approved, removing the exceeded amount per day and change it to lodging being approved by council prior to attending the conference. And were we agreeing to under 5, just adding in there that the council has the ability to ask the ethics board to keep our name anonymous while making the request?
I think the whole point of having the ethics board was not to have anybody go as a grown adult to have to say somebody died or somebody ill in my family. That was the whole purpose, Councilwoman. So we just gonna keep it as is.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. You got motion and support with those changes?
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
No.
Councilmember Moore,
No.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Moving right along to item D, the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 21-1208 to amend chapter 10, administration, article 10, medical marijuana facilities of the City of Eastpointe Code of Ordinances. Council?
Madam Mayor, I will motion to introduce and give first reading to ordinance number 21-1208, which would amend chapter 10, administration, article 10, medical marijuana facilities of the City of Eastpointe Code of Ordinances.
Support.
Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido,
Madam Mayor, a question, sorry.
I'm
Before
sorry, I didn't see your
vote.
hand. Okay, Councilman.
Who was city administration looking to put on this committee instead of the director of public safety or instead of the building official or economic development manager? Because for example, for director of public safety, I think I'd like to see someone in a management role, but I was curious who you were looking at then, Ms. Doom.
I'm not looking at anyone specific. We've had discussions about our police chief who would be in charge of regulating, and policing, and yet knowing many of these business owners that are looking to open the marijuana shops, we're looking at potential conflict. So the department heads, if they had an alternate, would bring that to me and I would make that decision if that was acceptable or could come to council. Police, we're thinking someone possibly in the police or fire department, someone definitely in a management position. We're not just talking a neighbor down the street or one of our employees. It would be someone within a management role.
Yeah, I guess council, I'd rather have it say, director of public safety or, deputy police chief, fire chief, or fire marshal. I think those 4 positions could be fine from the public safety aspect. And I don't know about the other part. I think it should be the building official or economic development manager.
Okay.
I don't know what everyone else thinks.
I would agree with the public safety that it should be one of those 4, the police chief, the deputy police chief, the fire marshal, or the deputy fire marshal. I mean, I would agree with those changes. When it comes to the economic development manager, I don't know. I think that one might be a little bit more, I might be a little bit more lenient on that one. But I'll support whatever council wants. So when it comes to that.
I'm gonna sit here. So if we have the city manager or designee, and you haven't chosen that person yet, you said, Ms. Doom?
If I needed a designee, it would be the finance director.
Okay. And the Director of Public Safety, he will possibly would choose the deputy, police officer, deputy police chief, and the economic developer would probably, who would she pick, Ms. Doom, if she would have had, if she needed a designee?
Would have to be someone in a management role, whether it would be, and I'm not saying that each person would pick a designee, but it's safe to have one. If for
Okay.
some reason we're unable to come, she may pick our finance director. If, I'm certainly willing to be a part of this. I don't need a designee.
Right.
So
Okay.
we just want to be able to have someone within our management team able to step in our place if we're unable to, perform.
Okay, sounds good. So the finance director will be the designee for the city manager or the economic development manager in case they're not here or whatever may happen. And the designee for the director of public safety will be the deputy chief of police. How does that sound, council?
Madam Mayor, I mean, I think that sounds fine, but I am also would be open to just, changing it to be the designees, to add in there that the designees have to be in a management position, like even if it's not the ones that we specifically stated, because we're going to hire an assistant city manager. So if our city manager is unable to attend, I don't see why she wouldn't be able to appoint our assistant city manager either. It doesn't necessarily have to be the finance director. So I think just anyone, if we could just maybe add in there that all designees have to be in a management position.
Okay, sounds good.
Mr. DeMonaco?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think back to when we talked with the planning commission. I just want to make sure, I guess, yeah, if we said like the director of public safety or a manager in public safety, and then in the building official or economic development manager, or a manager in the building department or economic development. I mean, we don't have a department, for economic development. I guess if it was worded like that, I think I'd like to see, just to make sure that we have a public safety aspect and a building/economic development aspect on the committee.
Yeah, that's fine. I would amend my motion to that, to change to say that.
Okay, sounds good.
Just a point of clarification, what exactly is the amended motion going to consist of? Just, I want to make sure that the language is correct.
Sure, I could take a stab. It'll just be this first sentence again, being modified, a committee consisting of the city manager or, well, if you don't mind, I guess I'll add management position for that part too. So committee consisting of the city manager or a manager, I guess I don't know how to word it for this first part, in the city manager's office, or a manager in the city manager's office.
I don't know if city manager's office would be right, because I'm the point Mr. Blum, he's in the finance department, so.
That's true.
I think just in a management position, that one we might be able to leave even more broad.
Okay, committee consisting of the city manager designee, the director of public safety, or a manager in the public safety department, and the building official or economic development manager, or a manager in the building department or economic development department.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion on the floor. Who did we get support from?
Councilmember Curley.
Okay, motion and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
No.
Councilmember Moore.
I'm sorry. No.
Councilmember DeMonaco.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is item E, reinstatement of the deputy city clerk position and amendment to the assistant city manager job description. Council? Well, let me go to the city manager on this. Ms. Doom, can you speak on this, please?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Thank you.
Historically, the city has had a separate position from the assistant city manager. It was an assessor slash clerk, deputy clerk, and it primarily clerk of elections. And in the past, the city decided to do away with in-house assessing, contract it out to a firm. And those duties, the clerical duties of managing the two employees and also all elections fell on the assistant city manager. He limped along. He was very tired. I've gotten quite a bit of feedback that he accomplished it, but it definitely took its toll on him because he was doing so many other things. That gentleman retired and we had someone that we hired, and it was not very successful because primarily these are two completely different professions. Being a city clerk, overseeing elections, you have a lot of training in that area. So to try and take that and also an assistant city manager that's in charge, really in my place if I'm not here, in charge of procurement, also budgets, and a lot of things. Those are two professions that don't mesh well. So our attempt to bring them together into one wasn't particularly successful. And so I'm asking the council to consider reinstating that deputy clerk's position. And then with the assistant city manager's position, because now they're freed from all the, elections and all of the educational background and everything that you need to be a clerk, to add building facilities into their job description and also grant writing. So there'd be additional duties, but it'd be manageable and be for the right type of person with the right type of training. So I'm asking for that.
Thank you.
You're
Council?
welcome.
So, Madam Mayor, when
Yes,
I
ma'am.
recently spoke with Ms. Doom and I spoke about this,
Okay.
I was a little like, well, I'm not sure if I want to because I'm always worried about like the budget and the cost that would have on the impact. But I know in the past that you mentioned hiring a grant writer and having the assistant city manager having the time to maybe be able to write some of those grants, I thought was a good idea. So I would move ahead with making a motion to support this if everyone else is ready.
I'm glad you brought that up. Well, I actually want a grant writer to work by writing grants. And when I say that, writing grants, when they do the grant and we are awarded the grant, then they get paid. So we can have somebody writing grants all day and they're doing it just to say I wrote a grant and we're paying them anyway. So I want a grant writer that we pay based upon the work that they do. So that the city won't just be paying a person to sit at a desk and not doing the job that we are paying them to do with taxpayers' money. And the thing about recreating a position that was already there and reinstating it is that you said this would be a full-time job, so we would have to pay someone benefits, correct, Ms. Doom? Is that right?
That's correct.
So we saved more money combining this job with the assistant city manager, and it's been done very well for the last how many years?
Mr. Altimus, who was here, took that on and was successful but exhausted. And
Okay.
I've gotten quite a bit of feedback. It really took a huge toll on him to try and balance everything. In the
Okay.
past year and a half, we've had someone do both jobs. It has been less than successful.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
I believe Councilwoman Lucido was first, and then you, Councilman DeMonaco.
Sorry, thank you. Yes, I know that Mr. Altimus always did a great job of trying to balance both, but I do know that during the elections, it definitely took away from his ability to be able to focus on his job as assistant city manager. I know also that other times when we've had city manager retire, Mr. Altimus was unable to even fill in that position because of the fact that he was always overwhelmed because he was the clerk also. So that's another reason why I would definitely support going back to separating these positions.
Okay, sounds good, Councilman DeMonaco.
Sure, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I was going to comment on what you were saying about the grant writing. I guess I'd like to dig slightly more into that because I guess like what grants did Mr. Altimus, right? If I'm not mistaken, I know we got Chief Sage on here. I think the fire department writes all their own grants, right? The police department writes the JAG grants that we've done. I think in the past we hired someone to write some DNR grants. And then I think AEW does any, SEMCOG grants for water, sewer, or anything like that. So I don't know if, like, practically speaking, what grants are we talking about here?
We're talking about, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. We're talking about community block grants. We're looking at Michigan Economic Development grants. We're looking at any grant that's available out there. And in the past, our assistant city manager tried to help our departments, but he was not as skilled. And so many of the departments wrote their own grants because they had the background and the knowledge. So I do know that Mr. Abraham had asked our assistant city manager to assist with grants, and he said he didn't have the time. I can't speak for the fire department or the police department if they have asked our department to assist in any way. So there are grants out there, and there's quite a few, and some of them, we've had this happen in the past where people don't want to take the time to write a grant because it might be for 5,000 or 10,000, and say it's too small to spend the time. Well, I believe that no grant is too small to spend the time on writing that grant. So there's things that we've passed on. We have those big ones, as you mentioned, for SEMCOG and working with AEW, but there's a lot in between that we have not taken the time to write those grants forward to try and obtain them. And a lot of those primarily are, and I'm speaking from past history of working in other communities, they're often grants for additional park equipment. There's handicap grants for, and I had written one for handicap swing sets for children. They all come through a various number of foundations. The one I reached out to was the Christopher Reeve Foundation, which he provided grants for handicapped playground equipment. Those are just some of the grants that are out there that we've not looked at, and we've not made any attempt to write because we're looking at all the really big grants for our roads and our sewers, which are very important, but there's still grants out there that we don't go after.
Okay. Yeah, I guess just personally, I'm not sure I'm in favor of this because I think if we're hiring someone as assistant city manager, I think they should be able to at least handle this or delegate if necessary, get someone, to help out. I mean, a lot of cities don't even have assistant city managers, and we're about to split ours into two, and yeah, we're adding another 30,000 to our budget here. So not sure I'm for this.
I also was thinking, we'll talk about this when we get the budget time, to actually work with the school superintendent and the school board and sharing the cost of a grant writer. I believe the school could use some grants as well as the city of Eastpointe. And even though we're different entities, we are still in the same city, and we want to see not only our city progress, but our schools progress. And so that'll be something that I'll bring up later on. But I think a grant writer is very an asset to any organization because that's their whole focus. They spend day-to-day training and also doing grant writing. I did a grant writing class. Thank you to the city of Eastpointe with MML, I believe it's SIMCOG. They did an educational grant writing class that I took while I was a councilwoman. And so at that time, I did seek out grants, and I still do. So, if you see it on the back of my wall, those are educational training that you can attend that I took when my first year as a councilwoman. So it is extensive. So they have training 1, 2, and 3. So I took the first one, but it's extensive, and you have to do research, and then you have to apply for it. I have worked with the last city manager on grants. We just got a grant that I talked to DTE and things like that about. So that's why I talk about the educational part of being council and a leader in your community and taking these grant writing classes so we can be an asset to the roles that we play. So, but I do think that I like the fact that what Ms. Doom is saying, it is a lot of work compacting all those things, but since it's been working this long, Ms. Doom, that's where I'm coming from. And we'll be putting a budget to the side to pay someone, and then we're gonna be opening up for health benefits. And I know we still have a low negative in the pension. So that's where I'm pretty much coming from on that end. I know we have the finance director here. What do you think, Mr. Blum?
Here. Financially, I mean, $35,000 extra isn't going to break the bank. I don't think it's that large an amount. And actually, having worked with Assistant City Manager Ultimus, I do know the strain and stress that was put on him with having all the jobs. And then also when we go out to replace the Assistant City Manager, there was very limited applications for that job because of the dual roles and nobody having the proper criteria. Most assistant city managers come in, we'll call them green, they're fresh, they're there to learn, they don't know everything. The only reason that Randy Ultimus made it work is he had 35 years experience when he worked for us. And that's why he was able to pull it off. Most of the new kids coming in, they can't handle it because they're still learning the assistant job. Plus they have to go off and do elections and everything else. But financially, I think we can afford it without too much trouble.
The only reason I didn't want to open up a new position because it's COVID, and I want to see what our finances look after the next fiscal year, and then probably bring this back up for budgeting. So I want to see where we're at financially, and not do any hiring like that. I know we need police officers, and that's something we always have to do, and hire them and make sure they're in place for safety purposes. But I don't think this is an emergency hire, if you understand what I'm saying. Council members?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I know that there are grant writers who only get paid if they write a grant and is actually is approved, and they actually can get paid through the grant that they're writing, that they have the approval of the funding. So it makes it a lot better for them, because that way they'll really work at getting a grant, because once one is approved, they could get paid out of the grant and it wouldn't be any money out of our pocket at all.
Right. I'm looking at the amount that we're going to be spending. It says 30 plus. Does that include the health insurance and everything like that, Mr. Blunt? I just want to make sure.
That number is a net number, does include the health insurance, and it assumes that we're not spending money on a grant writer. So if we don't do a grant writer, or we weren't going to do a grant writer, then the cost would be more, but it is netting the estimated cost of a grant writer against that.
Okay. Now what we're saying is hiring a grant writer that we don't have to pay until they get us the money.
That's another alternative.
Okay. All right, Council, so we can move right along. What are your thoughts?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Oh, good evening. How are you?
There are most of the grants that are available to government entities such as cities, through the state, through the federal, through philanthropic, do not allow administrative costs, which would include the fee of a grant writer. So just in my past years, decades of experience in government, that is one thing that unless you're in a nonprofit arena or some of the others, that those costs cannot be paid for by the grant if awarded. I'm sorry, just had to bring that up.
Thank you. Any other comments, Council? Can I get a motion, or we're tabling this, or this? I don't hear any talks.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve reinstatement of the deputy city clerk position and amend the assistant manager job description.
That's good. Support that.
Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
No.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
No.
Moving right along, we have the approval of contract with Payette Sales and Services Incorporated for the purchase of a new 2022 KME ladder truck. Council,
Madam Mayor, I will make a motion to approve the contract with Payette Sales and Services Incorporation for the purchase of a new 2022 KME ladder truck in the amount of $1,303,252.
A second.
motion and second. Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Madam Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman DeMonaco.
could we, since Chief Sage is sitting here, I think waiting for this item, I'd like to hear a little bit from him about the truck. I believe, fortunately, I think my questions have been answered, but I think if we could, I'd appreciate if we could hit on a few things since it's a $1.3 million piece of equipment.
Good evening, Fire Chief Sage. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I think I'd like to just take a minute to thank the committee members that worked on this, but first and foremost, the director, who has been pushing us along for well over a year to get this project to the point we are now. So his leadership was key in all this. But in all that, Joe Zangara, James Heinzman, and Mike Sesniak, who put just extensive amount of work into this whole project. So we did have several vendors bring out and showcase their equipment. And there are really 5 areas that we zeroed in on that we thought would help us serve the community better in the new apparatus. We were looking for an improved climbing ability on the aerial ladder itself. What we have today is good, but this new truck is better. Okay, and that's just the easiest way to put it. One of the most significant gains in this is the drivability of the apparatus. I'll give you an example. Our current ladder truck, we can't drive it behind Chesterberry, for example, the 5-story senior complex on 9 Mile. This new truck will be able to maneuver it around behind that building, and that could be critical in an incident. It provides the nuts and bolts, not to get so winded on it, just some basic aspects that just make it safer for us today than it was 22 years ago when we got that apparatus that we have now. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions anybody might have.
Any questions, Council?
Sure, Madam Mayor. I just want to confirm a couple things. I think from what I'm understanding from the info we received, I think first of all, sounds like you're all happy with this truck then, right? I guess first of all, okay.
Absolutely.
Shaking his head yes, I guess, for anyone
Absolutely.
not looking at him. And it pretty much, it came just, slightly over what we had budgeted. But I think, very close for sure. And so we had some vendors out, but then only the one vendor bid. That's correct then?
Yeah, that is correct. We had several vendors come out, showcase the apparatus. From that, we went ahead and made the specifications we were looking for. And we zeroed in on some key aspects of the truck that we knew would service the community better and more efficiently than what we have out there today. Another key factor I didn't mention is the ease of setting the apparatus up. We'll be able to do it now in 35 seconds with just one person versus the existing apparatus. It takes 2 people about 2 minutes to set it up. And obviously, I don't have to say it, but in the face of an emergency, the seconds do count. So when you start factoring in some of those specifications, I think a couple of the vendors realized that by putting a bid in, they weren't going to be able to meet the specifications we were looking for.
Okay, that sounds good. And then and I guess maybe Mr. Blum, this is a question. It sounds like we're paying up front here and we get a $40,000 discount. Is that what the plan is then?
Correct. That 1.3 million was invested for the next 390 days. I'd get about $1,500 in interest at the current interest rates. So the $40,000, even with the bond that we're paying, which does protect us in case of default, we're way ahead of the game by prepaying.
Okay,
And we've set the money aside because we've been planning on this one for 2 years now.
okay, yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds great. And then I think just the other thing that seemed pretty important to me was warranty, because of course, in other parts of the city, we've had maybe some issues with various things. It looked like there was pretty extensive amount of warranties. That all seemed reasonable then, Chief?
Yeah, that's correct. There's about, if I recall, I believe there's 28 different warranties, everything from the motor itself to the chassis, to the aerial apparatus itself. And it's all broken down. There's probably 5 different pages that break down each one of those. And they definitely
I think we're having technical difficulties on your end, Chief, because it keeps messing up. Any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah, I think I got everything on the warranty there, Chief. I think we missed maybe a sentence or two, but I think it sounds good to me. I'm all set, Madam Mayor.
Okay, motion and support is on the floor. Can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes. Thank you. Next item is the appointment of Rob Baker to the Board of Ethics to replace former board member Marika Bufik. If I said it right? I think this is Councilman DeMonaco.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I just would like to appoint Rob Baker now. My previous appointee, Mariah Walton, is moving out of the city, so she will no longer be able to serve. So I was looking to get confirmation from you guys for Rob Baker.
I would support that. Support.
And I guess with the term to expire June 30, 2023, Mr. Curley, if that's fine. As written in the agenda.
Okay. Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
No.
Councilmember Moore,
No.
Next item, item H, I'm sorry. Discussion and possible motion for charter amendment to hold primaries for local election. This is brought up by Councilwoman Lucido. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The reason why I put this on the agenda is this is something that would have to be put on the ballot to be voted by the residents if we wanted to return to having primaries again. In the past, primaries were removed by a vote because of lack of interest in the city. We were only having 2 candidates run for mayor. You know, we were only having 3 candidates run for 2 open council seats. The community has really started to engage and show a lot more interest in these positions. So I just thought because of that, it would be in the best interest of the city and the best interest for the residents if we put it back on the ballot to amend our charter to add primaries back in again.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If the council approves this, it would go on the ballot this coming November 2021 to change it to primaries. And I've lived through primaries, and they are very effective, and a lot more people are involved in it. For those who are watching tonight, we got about 54 people watching. So on a primary, let's take the council. Let's say 2023 will be the first election that we would use a primary. And there's going to be 2 seats up. So what you would do, you would have a primary if there were more than 4 people that took out petitions. And then after the primary, say that 6 people ran for that election, and then you reduce it down to 4, and then in November election, you would vote for 2 of the 4, and that's who would win. On a mayor's position, if there's more than 2, there have to be more. If there's only 2, you don't need a primary. But if there's 3 or 4 or 5, you'd have a primary and reduce that down to 2 people. And then in November, 2 people would run for mayor. So it's in a way, it's something like, what do you call it? Ranked voting, But I think it's a lot cleaner. It worked beautifully when we did it. And so I'd like to see it reinstated and put onto the November ballot, this November ballot, for a charter change.
Ms. Albright, when you were here, when did they take this off? When was this on the ballot to be taken off?
Madam Mayor, it was, the council passed a motion to have primaries removed. This all took place back in 2010.
Okay.
The process would be the council would first have to, by a majority vote, agree to do this. And then our office would draft proposed language for that. That language would then be approved by the city council. It would then go before the Attorney General's office, and the Attorney General's office would approve the language and make a recommendation to the governor whether it should be approved. And ultimately then it would, if everything was approved, it would go on the ballot at a time in the future. That's the process in a nutshell.
And they stopped it. Why? Mr. Albright, 1 second, maybe.
I believe it was done back in 2010 because the city was just coming out of the recession back from 2008, 2009. And I believe that it was a cost saving measure back then.
Okay.
I believe that was the reason for it, but it all took place back in 2010. If anybody that is watching this evening is interested, I believe the resolution was passed back in June of 2010. It was right around May or June of 2010.
Okay. And it was done through because of recession. And since it's somewhat a recession now due to COVID, people losing their jobs and things like that, I don't think we should put it on the ballot. And another thing, I agree with Councilwoman Lucido, since more people are starting to apply for mayor and council, that it has been true, but I would like to probably I would like to talk to the Department of Justice more about this, because more people of color have been now in the last 10 years have been coming to Eastpointe and have been in these elections. And I don't want to deter them now because we have more people coming into elections that are minorities to deter them in primaries. And so I think this is another deterrence, just like the ranked choice voting that we spoke of earlier. And so I would like to get a reference from the Department of Justice and see if this is something that they want to look into and make sure that we're doing making things fair. And so to bring something back 10 years when things starting to change and people are starting to get elected and you start seeing diversity, you want to rechange it 10 years later. I want to look more into that. So I would probably not be in agreement to this.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, part of the thing is that I would have been for bringing this back before, but because we did go into an agreement with the Department of Justice to use ranked choice voting, we were unable to really have a primary for council elections at that time. So that's why I'm waiting till now, because if we put it on this election, this would be our last ranked choice voting election. Unless, something changes between now and then, but it would also be up to the residents. I don't think we should make that decision to bring the primaries back. What I'm asking is to put it on the ballot to give the residents the choice, the voice on whether or not they want to see primaries reinstated. Because Mr. Albright is right. Finances at that time played part of it. Our finances now are a little bit better, and the cost of a primary isn't that great, that I think that it might be beneficial to the residents to make sure that candidates are being elected that are, it just makes the elections more like you have an opportunity to really really get to know the candidates. If there's only 2 candidates running or only 4 candidates running for council seats, unlike if there was 5 mayor candidates running. It's really hard for a resident to actually take the time to get out there and actually meet all 5 of those candidates. I'm just trying to make it so where the candidates have a better ability to be able to reach these candidates, get to know them, and vote for who they think is the best choice, whether it be for council or for mayor.
And with the Department of Justice coming along, and they saw that it was interference because people were voting people because of last name recognition. Like for you, Ms. Lucido, you have a last name recognition throughout Macomb County. So people would probably vote for you, knowing that the prosecutor of Macomb County is Peter Lucido. So your last name will stand out more than other people. So it tries to deter people from getting a chance in elections due to name recognition and certain other things. And we don't want to deter people because you have a name recognition that everybody knows, or I have a name recognition. We want to give people an open, voice to be able to say, this is who I am, and to vote for me. And that's why I don't really want to bring it back, not right now, while we're starting to get our council diverse. That's where I'm coming from.
Madam
Yes,
Mayor,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I think Ms. Moore wanted to say something too. But just in response to what you just said really quick, I'm sorry, Ms. Moore. What I'm saying is that I still want people to campaign. I want them to campaign for those primaries. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from running. I would still encourage everyone to still run and get their name out there too, to be able to get their name known. It would just be earlier because we'd have the primary in August and then the election would be in November. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from running. I don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to discourage anyone from running. This would just move it. Everyone, the candidates would be up running earlier. You'd actually be campaigning probably a lot longer because of the fact that you have a primary in August. So every candidate running, whether it be myself, like right now, if I run for council, I don't really start my campaigning probably till July or August because there's no primary. So I'm running and I want people to remember me for November. This way I'm starting actually on the spring. It's giving these candidates even a better chance to get out there, get their names out there, and to get their names known. If so, it gives me less of a chance because of my name being recognizable.
Well, due to, again, the Department of Justice in their investigation, they found that African Americans came out least likely in elections here in Eastpointe. And so since that is the case, I wouldn't want to deter them from reminding them of something, not all of them, but this is what the Department of Justice saw, and you were there, that especially in odd year elections, certain groups do not know that we're having an election here. So if they don't know we have an election in November, they won't know we having a primary. So I want to keep it open to get them to first realize and get comfortable with, first we put in ranked choice voting, now we're putting primaries. I want to let people be welcome and letting them know what's going on for right now. I don't want to keep on changing things and getting people confused and things like that when we're just getting on the right track what the Department of Justice want us to be. So that's just where I'm coming from. I don't have anything else to say about that. Anybody else?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, just to add to what Sarah said, wouldn't it be
Madam Chair, does the raising of the hand work or no?
No,
yes, I'm sorry. You were next, Councilwoman Moore.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to say something. I serve here in Eastpointe as an election chairwoman person during the elections, and I've been serving over 15 years. My whole family served. I didn't serve this election because I was on the ballot. However, the financial impact when we took it off the ballot, I know for a primary is about $22,000 to $24,000. And now that we have a lot more absentee ballots, it would probably go up to maybe $35,000, maybe $40,000 for that one election. 1 year we actually had an election. We actually had 4 elections 1 year, and it almost did the city in when it came to the finances for 4 elections. So that is something to think about. There's going to be a significant financial impact of anywhere up to $35,000 to $40,000 for the one election, and then you also have the regular election, and then if there's another election that during that year from the state of Michigan or something, now you have 3 elections, and there may be a special elections. So I mean, we can be well over $100,000 in just election costs for 1 year. And that was one of the reasons why it was taken off before and with low turnout.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just another comment that wouldn't it be nice to have our citizens for a change vote on something that the council is not going to make a decision on, something that is important as this. So I think it's a good idea to put it on the ballot and if I'm not out of order, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to put a charter amendment on the November 2021 ballot to bring primaries back to our local elections.
I will support that.
Moved and supported, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Sorry, if I could just
Councilmember Monaco, I didn't see your hand, sorry.
comment just on a couple things because I didn't really comment yet. I guess first of all, this is why I'm for ranked choice voting. We wouldn't have to have primaries. So Councilman Curley, we wouldn't even have to have primaries if we supported ranked choice voting. But of course, after the consent decree, we can't. So this November's election would be the last one. And then of course, we don't have a regular council election until 23. So I think there's a little bit of time on this. And then proposal 3, fortunately, to some other comments that were made, has made it much easier to vote. You can vote absentee with no excuse and register up to the day of the election. And of course, we all know in November there was record turnout. The cost of the election, of course, will be more, as we're saying, because there's going to be 2 elections instead of 1 now. But I think in terms of if I'm weighing this, that would be somewhat of a minor concern, because I think it's, one of the, well, if not the most important thing that a city does. So a price tag, even in tens of thousands, I think, if it is worth it, I think to me wouldn't be a deterrent. And what's my last item here? I can't read my own notes, but that was my 3 items. I'm not sure. I think I need to think about this more, I guess, since we've I don't know. I've only had a couple days to think about it, of course. So I think right now I'm not sure how I feel about this.
We have motion and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
No.
Councilmember Moore,
No.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
No.
Moving right along. Approval of MSU Extension Citizen Planner Program for Councilman DeMonaco.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the attendance for the MSU Extension Citizen Planner Program for Councilman DeMonaco.
I'll support that. I want him to go to get some training. Call the roll. Motion and support. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Abstain, I guess.
Next item, approval of MML Capital Conference 2021 for Councilman DeMonaco.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the attendance for the MML Capital Conference 2021, full access for Councilman DeMonaco.
Support that. Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Abstain.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Next item is approval of MSU Extension Citizen Planner Program for Councilwoman Lucido.
So moved.
Support. Moved and supported. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes. Oh,
Councilmember-
abstain, sorry.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Next item is approval of MML Capital Conference 2021 for Councilwoman Lucido.
So moved.
Support. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido,
Abstain.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Next is payroll and bills, council.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to pay the bills in the amount of $4,360,937.12.
Second.
Moved and
Madam
supported,
Mayor?
please. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I had one quick question about these today. And actually it's about something you've brought up before, Councilwoman Moore, about the, it's 125221, I think, Ustan LLC, the folks that were doing the memorial building. I see we're paying them. Did we get that all handled then? I'd assume if it's now on payroll and bills, at least the part we're paying them for, I guess her concerns were handled then.
Madam Mayor, may I speak?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Absolutely not. No one got back with me on anything. I asked questions. I let them know what my concerns were, and I haven't heard anything back from anyone from the city of Eastpointe.
Ms. Doom or Mr. Blum?
That is a partial payment that was authorized by AEW. I believe it's only 38% progress payment. It was some less than 50% figure. I'm not aware of any issues, so I can't speak to that. I can just speak to the payment being a percentage payment.
So
Bloom, the
I'm sorry, go
actual,
ahead.
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, the actual issue was that there was a wall that was existing and they took down the gate. And when they took the gate down, the wall fell down because the gate was holding up the wall. My thing was, if they were a licensed contractor, they should have known that the after they, did an evaluation of the gate, that they should have known that that wall was holding up the gate was holding up the wall, and that they should have did some reinforcements before they took down that gate that they went to get rid of. And I did ask for information and documents on it, but I haven't received anything because we actually paid for that, the work. And my thing is if they broke it, then they bought it. And we shouldn't have paid for something that they actually broke. And then we paid them and they said it had to be rebuilt. That should not be on us. It should be on their company.
Mr. Blum?
I would have to defer to the city manager. Like I said, all I can state is that there was a progress payment and it equated to about 38% of the total construction cost. Other than that, I don't have any information.
Ms. Dunn?
Yes, Ms. Moore, I am so sorry that Mr. Abraham did not get with you. I did speak with him about what this was about. And forgive me, it's been a while, so I don't have an exact memory of what we spoke about. But the wall did not fall because of the gate, and they asked for it to be removed. It was something completely differently. So I will reach out to Public Works tomorrow and see if I can't find that explanation for you. And he painted it very clearly in my mind at the time. There was some additional work that was asked for, and something with the gate was totally separate from the building. But other than that, I'm just not really clear on it. So my apologies. I was certain that Mr. Abraham got you the information and explained it to you. So I'll get that for you.
Okay, Ms. Doom, actually in the change order, it stated that they took down the gate and subsequently the wall fell down.
Okay.
So that's what the change order actually stated.
Okay. I'll get on it.
Thank you.
So I guess I'd prefer if we're not paying in full yet, I guess we could later than Mr. Blum, right, handle this, or I'd rather we delay the payment, I guess, till next meeting to get a.
Yeah, there's a retainer built in there. There's a 10% retainer already withheld. And those, all payments have retainers until everything's been finalized. So we still owe a lot more money on the project. There's already a retainer. So this one issue with the wall can be worked out long before final payment.
Okay, thanks. I guess then I'd be okay with the payroll and bills. Ms. Doom, just please make sure to follow up on that, and
Will do.
I'm all set then.
Thank you, sir. We have motion and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes,
Mayor Owens,
Yes,
Councilmember DeMonaco.
Yes.
great. Now we're at our second hearing of the public. And that is now open. Please open it up. Ms. Walton, please.
Yes, let's see. We have Paula's Galaxy has her hand up.
Okay, let me get my timer on. Good evening. Please state your name. Lucy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Paula Bass. I'm an employee with the 38th District Court. I came on here tonight just to appeal to City Council for an extension of healthcare coverage for the Theobald family. I know it was set to expire on December 31st, which would have been the day after Brian Theobald's accident. The city graciously extended it till the end of January. But I came on here as not just an employee of the city, but as a friend of the family, asking if you would at least consider some sort of an extension for them. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. We're all dealing with the loss, and thank you for saying that. Ms. Doom, that's something we probably can not talk about right now.
We're going to bring you a letter of understanding at our next meeting to discuss this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again for coming along. You see our city, we really care about each other, and that's a blessing. And also thank you to SimCog for sending a letter for the Theobald family and other partnerships and people reaching out and calling me and praying for the city of Eastpointe. So thank you again for that. Do we have anybody else for our hearing of the public, please?
Yes, Veronica Kleinfeld has her hand raised.
Yes, ma'am.
I thank you,
Good
Mayor.
evening.
I just wanted to offer a historical perspective on the primary because I understand that nobody that is there was on at the time. It was not an easy decision because we did have candidates that would go on the ballot that really weren't serious, wouldn't campaign, weren't connected to the community. But we had to close the pool and we had to close the senior center. And we were looking at closing the community center. And then we got notice from administration that we were going to have to lay off 2 police officers. And we were cutting anything and everything at that time that we could possibly think of. We cut all travel. We cut our ties to the organizations, the 8 Mile Boulevard, all of those organizations. And we just thought if it could help fund not cutting another police officer, getting rid of the primary was an option. We were pretty desperate right at that point, and we just didn't see a whole lot of options. I'm not taking a position on your position, but I just wanted you to have the perspective of what was happening at that time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. And that was our county commissioner, Veronica Kleinfeld. So if you have any issues in our city as well, in our county, please email Commissioner Kleinfeld. Thank you for coming on tonight. Anybody else?
Yes, Mary Hall Rayford has her hand raised.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I wasn't ready, had to unmute there. When I spoke earlier, I neglected to say that the town hall that I'm hosting is virtual, so on Zoom, and if people would, because my Facebook page is public, and check on events, the information is there, the link to register to vote. And I really hope people are there because what I'm hearing tonight makes me realize even more so that council members need to hear from residents. Council members need to hear from residents. That's extremely important. And the residents need to have an opportunity to talk without time restrictions. And that's why I'm hosting this, and I really want everyone to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for hosting it as well. Anyone else would like to speak?
Yes, there's someone else listed as guest that would like to speak. They have their hand raised.
Yes, hi, good evening.
My name is Miss Mandy. I'm from Eastpointe. You know, you guys spent a lot of time today talking about a meal. A meal. Whatever happened to brown bagging it? I grew up brown bagging it through my whole career. They had meals. Every conference has an itinerary. You know if you're going to be provided any food, any drinks, water, coffee, everything. Then you go on to say, well, if you missed that class, why do I got to report it to somebody? You know what, through your whole career, you had to report to somebody. I don't care who you are up on that board now, you still got to report to somebody. And I think that's right, you should have to report. If the residents are putting their money up for you to attend a conference and you're gonna say, oh, my kid is sick, you know what, come on now. Let's be legitimate about this whole thing. The grant writing, you know, it's unbelievable. There's a position available, fill that position. Take some of the pressure off Ms. Doom. I think she's doing an outstanding job. She's ever since day one. Ever since day one, you're putting more and more on her. You know, let her do her job. Let her get the help that she needs. Then you turn around and your next conversation is, well, we are low negative on the pension. Are you worried about your pension, the low pension? Are you worried about brown bagging it? Are you worried about the residents paying for your meal? Come on now. You guys really need to look at, you look foolish up here. You really do. We sat here for how long and listened to you about a meal? So foolish. And you know what, for a primary, I think we should have a primary because it's so unfair for people to do robocalls to people and not have to put out no signs. And they had help of another person on that, where you sit on that council. They had help of another person that used a Metro PCS phone that belongs to the county sheriff's department to make them robocalls. That is so unfair. If Harvey can get out there and Harvey can bust his butt and go house to house and put out his signs and talk to people.
30 seconds, ma'am.
No problem. I think that each and every one of you should do that instead of robocalling and somebody helping you do it. Have a good evening.
All right, stay blessed and stay prayerful. You sound like a praying woman. Yes, anybody else out there?
Yes, Chef Lex would like to speak.
Hi, good evening.
Oh, he's muted.
Good evening, Mr. Lex. We can't hear you. We can't hear you, sir.
He's trying to figure it out.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. So first of all, I'm sorry for that, y'all. Thank you for having me, Mayor. I want to say thank you for your service for everybody on the panel. Everybody who's putting their 2 cents in, 5 cents in, 1%, 100%. We appreciate that. But like I said, my name is Chef Lex. Mayor Owens knows me. And if you need anything down there at the office, I don't care what it is, just reach out. I'm here for the city. I'm here for our children mainly. I care about the adults, but it's really about, for me, it's about our future. So I'm always in it for the kids, and I hear what the young lady was saying about the arguing over the food and all that. I get it. So sometimes it does look, it looks petty. Sometimes the arguments look petty amongst you guys, and it doesn't look good. But what I can say this, I think long as y'all come together for a common plan for the community, no matter what you disagree or agree with each other, come to a common plan with each other to help us all and not just help yourselves. Sometimes it seems like you might be trying to help yourself on the situation, but we're only saying, hey, it is hard times. So if I'm working for the government, if I'm working for the city, I just want to make sure that I'm not spending the little bit that I do have, you know, even though I'm pretty sure all of you are probably willing to spend your last for your city. But we really don't want to do that, knowing you have to feed a family as well. I get it about the brown bags and all that. That's cool. You're right. But even then, in these days, you still got to pay for that brown bag. So at the end of the day, everybody, I'm just saying, just be together. You know what I mean? And let's cut the bickering down. If the fire chief needs a big machine costing $1 million that is going to help be safe, give it to him. You know what I mean? If you want people to win, you have to give them the tools to win. If the lady needs help, try to make a stipend for another person to help her with other decisions if they need it. You know what I mean? I know you don't want to spend an extra $30,000 on another person, but hey, if they say, hey, you were going to take a cut to do this, then we need your help. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, there's ways around things, y'all. We just have to be together on it. I don't want to hold your time up. I love all of you. We all God's children. So, you know, act accordingly, y'all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Mayor Cassandra Ford would like to speak next.
Good evening, Ms. Ford.
I was unmuting. All right, thank you.
Good evening.
Speaking. Good evening. And the only thing I wanted to comment on was the primaries. I do not think that we need to do a primary. And I say this because I've been in Eastpointe over 25 years now. And when I first got in, there was very little participation in the elections. People didn't know when the elections were. And so a lot of people, even my neighbors, I had to say, hey, y'all know they have an election, blah, 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 this, blah, blah, blah. People didn't know because a lot of the candidates do not come by and knock on everybody's door. I don't know who got that impression, or if they do come by, they miss you, you know, because some people come by my door and I wasn't home at the time or whatever. But I think if you institute a primary now, because you got all these people who are involved in the election and participating, it seems like it's a detriment, like you're coming up with another way to stop people from getting elected. And that's what it feels like to me, because we got the ranked choice voting, which I thought was a good thing, a good way to get more people involved in the process. And now we're going to put in or ask the citizens, do they want to do primaries? It's just another hurdle somebody has to jump over. If a candidate is trying to run, and I'm not saying anybody will, but they're trying to run, they got to spend money to run in the primary and in the general election. So only those who have the money are going to be able to do that. So I just think that's unfair. I think we need to make elections so that anybody can win, anybody can get involved, and anybody can participate. And the less obstacles, the better. That's the way I feel about that. And I think the city council is doing a good job. Y'all done a lot. I mean, I know everybody doesn't always agree, but I think you guys have done a lot. I really like what's going on in the city now. I like the things that's being done. I don't know if y'all had a talk about the marijuana thing. I'm against the marijuana dispensaries. I just have to say that. And I'm sure I couldn't probably speaking on this at the wrong time, but that's just my feeling.
Now you're speaking at the right time. It's the hearing of the public, and you got at least 45 seconds left if you got anything else to say.
I'm against the marijuana dispensaries because I live right here close to 8 Mile. And a lot of these marijuana places are on 8 Mile. There are lines, cars going from one end to the other. The police a lot of times have to come out and even just police the crowd of people that's out there.
3 seconds left,
There There are enough places for people to go without them putting it in our city in the 2 miles that we have in this area and causing a problem. I just think it's a problem we don't need.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ford. Continue to come to the meetings. I'd love to hear your voice and see your face. Anyone else?
Yes, we have Tina Sanusi. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. That would like to speak.
Good evening, Ms. Sanusi, if that's correct.
Good evening, everyone.
I'm gonna stop and reset it until you get ready. Are you ready, Ms.
Hi.
Sanusi?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. I was sitting in on the meeting. I piggyback on a lot of things that everyone said. And I just want to commend you on the good job that you're doing and in the city of Eastpointe. I just want to, this is not contained to the meeting. I was sitting there because I had something I wanted to say. I'm a homeowner in Eastpointe over 15 years now. And I had a concern with the water in the streets in front of my home. I was wondering if you guys had any plans on taking care of that. And I see that up and down my block. So when it gets cold, when it freezes, we got an ice patch walking to the street. And when the summer comes, we got a haven for the mosquitoes. So that was my concern of and being in the meeting.
Thank you so much. Can you email us the streets that you're talking about?
Yes.
You can email our city manager at E as in egg, Doom, D as in dog, O as in ostrich, and M as in Monique at eastpointcity.org. That's edoom@eastpointcity.org. And if I'm speaking too fast, you are welcome to visit our website at cityofeastpointe.net for all your information. Thank you so much for attending. Please continue to come to our meetings. Well, your meeting.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of meeting you when I was paying my water bill today. Thank you for inviting me because like the young lady say, we don't have the opportunity to hear about the meetings unless you turn to the channel, or sometimes we don't get mail, or because of the mail issues. But I'm glad I saw you, and I had the opportunity to sit in on the meeting, and I will spread the news. So I saw the website, so I will let my neighbors know about the meetings if they're not informed of it. And you guys be blessed and stay safe.
You too, ma'am. And thank you for coming to your first meeting. Continue to come and let everybody else know. We want you to be involved in your community and also the elections, and also being where I sit at, or any of the council members sitting at, and being a part of your community. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Do we have anyone else?
Sorry, we have a Megan Callahan that would like to speak next.
Okay. Good evening, Ms. Callahan.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Megan Callahan. I'm located in Howell, Michigan. I'm with the law firm Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan. Our firm has been actively involved in securing municipal permits for marijuana establishments for over a decade. We have been passionate supporters of strong and productive partnerships with the marijuana industry and the communities it serves. Unfortunately, merit-based applications have proven to be a litigation trap and a significant financial drain on both the cities and the marijuana businesses at a time when neither can afford more losses. Litigation has become a part of the post-application process in nearly every city over the past year. We do not want to see Eastpointe suffer the same fate as Lansing, Traverse City, Warren, Berkeley, Pontiac, Detroit, and Westland. There is another way to approach applications. It is by lifting any cap on retail establishments and strictly zoning and buffering them, allowing the real estate market and the free market to take over. Muskegon, Portage, Southfield, and Ferndale have all used this method. Prop 1 only requires a municipal or a merit-based process when the city caps its permits. Removing the caps and strictly zoning while creating a robust but objective application with traditional planning commission hearings where the public can be heard will remove the litigation threat, financial drain, and the many months or years of a delay in opening these businesses in the city of Eastpointe and gaining from the economic development it offers. It is not too late for Eastpointe to amend its application or its ordinance prior to initiating its application process. We ask you to consider before proceeding. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Callahan. Anyone else like to speak?
Yes, Deanda Easley would like to speak next.
Hi, good evening, Ms. Easley.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Good, and you? Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone.
New Year.
I'm the owner of Epic Entertainment Team, one of the city of Roseville and Eastpointe's preferred vendors. I was really disturbed after the last 3 months at the RARE meeting as well as the Parks Commission meeting. It's been on their agenda to ban the use of bounce houses, trackless trains, tents, petting farms, and dunk tanks from the parks. It was stated that they were to be banned because a park member had a gun pulled out on them. I've yet to find out the date or anything about that. My concern is if that is the case, that a gun was pulled out, the gun wasn't pulled out from the use of these things. Those items are used to bring joy, especially after coming out of a pandemic. People, especially children, churches, schools, they're going to want to use our parks to have fun. If a gun was pulled out, I'm just asking that the city council help us as the preferred vendors, as residents, because I'm a mom as well and a city resident. Can you help us come up with other resolutions so that we won't lose these items? A suggestion would be maybe the green light system that's used at a lot of the gas stations and has really good cameras. Another suggestion would maybe hiring extra police officers. I mean, for those events at the park that will require the use of those items. It's really unfair, not only to the citizens of Eastpointe, the children, but myself as a preferred vendor. I've been a preferred vendor for 3 years. I've had insurance. I'm totally insured. I've never had an incident where the police have been called out, but I've invested a lot into my business because I believe in this city. So to take those things away because a gun was pulled out, I didn't pull out a gun. No one that I know pulled out a gun, but I'm just kind of was confused that why wasn't the person who pulled out a gun, why weren't they charged criminally? You know, what can we do to protect everybody at the parks? Now, why do we have to ban items that are used to bring joy, so much joy? My children have been in the house for almost a year now with a pandemic, not really able to freely enjoy the park. So when we are open back up, I was looking forward to providing services for family reunions, for school functions, for churches. I just think it's really unfair to—
30 seconds, ma'am.
Okay, I think it's unfair to myself as a preferred vendor to ban these items without coming up with another peaceful resolution. And I wanted to see if the city council could possibly maybe someone from the city council could join the next meeting or help us come up with another peaceful resolution so everybody can be safe. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you for attending. Actually, our Councilwoman, Ms. Lucido, is the liaison, so I'm glad you came. So she will be there at the next meeting. So she already heard what you said and probably can look more into it. So by the time you have the meeting, she could address it. Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Kimberly Naylor would like to speak next.
Yes, good evening, Ms. Naylor.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year to everyone. I'm kind of stepping back a little bit. I wanted to ask a question. We received notices back in October regarding any cement repair work that's needed in our driveways and sidewalks. And I did look at the date where it said it was, April 2021, which would be here sooner than we know. There was 3 options provided to us as residents. And I did note that if you were going to do the work yourself, that had to be completed by November versus the other options where I guess they have until April to get that completed. I am a licensed contractor and a builder, and I didn't look that closely at the date. So now I'm guess I'm gonna be forced to hire a contractor to do the work for me. Are you offering any assistance of identifying which slabs you wanted corrected? I know there was some work done on my street. I'm on Stricker Ave, and they actually put some green dots that they say they were going to fix. That was the city's responsibility, especially where some trees had did the lifting from the right of way. But no one ever came back. I don't know if it was just the season ran out to do the cement work. Well, how do we know which slabs we are to replace? Is there going to be some help in identifying those areas? That's my question.
We don't answer the question till the end, but you can address that, your street and those questions to our city manager, and she can contact our DPW and we can answer those questions for you appropriately with,
Thank
you know. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, so that's edom@eastpointcity.org. As you know, I know you wanted on the planning commission, so you know definitely how to get in touch with us because you're a part of us now. So
Correct.
yes, and welcome. And also just email us and let us know of the street and the questions, or just call us, you know, directly if you can't get sometimes emails are a solution, but they're not the best. Hearing somebody's voice and getting the whole thing out, you know, really helps. So if you need to call and you don't hear from us, please call us.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You have anyone else?
Yes, John DeHunt would like to speak next.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I had not planned on speaking, and Lord knows if I had heard the words marijuana once tonight, it was one time too many. I'm glad that it's moving in whichever direction it's going to move in, because it's nice not to have to think about it anymore, at least from the Planning Commission's perspective for now. So I have a couple of comments. First comment is we have a new president going in tomorrow. Whether you voted for him or not is irrelevant. We support the president, whoever it is. If you agree with the party, if you don't agree with the party. So I wish our president good luck. Second point would be going to communication. There is no communication in this world anymore. It's a we, they mentality, black, white mentality, Christian, non-Christian mentality. Where has the world become so divisive that we have to put people in boxes? It's time to start thinking outside of the box. If you put yourself in a box, you have a hard time getting out of it. So my challenge to everybody that's listening, stop thinking inside of a comfortable box and get out of that box. The last comment that I have tonight is more of a prayer for one of our residents, or our family, I should say. So most all of you know about the tragedy with the Pelesci family from Villa. All I can say is that we need to keep them all in our prayers and hope for nothing but peace to them. It's just a horrible tragedy. Regardless of whatever the circumstances are, we need to pray for these people because they have supported this community for decades. Long before most everybody, with the exception of Harvey, was even born, they have been here. And with God's blessing, they will be here after all of us are gone. So I just want to put that out there. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. DeHunt. Have a good night. Anyone else would like to speak?
Look through now. I don't see any other hands raised, but I will click through to see if anyone else is on. I don't see any hands raised, and there is nothing in the group chat, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Moving right along, the hearing of the public is now closed. We're going to mayor and council reports, starting with Councilman Curley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Just a couple of quick things. I think we all know that unfortunately we hit the figure of 400,000 people in our country have passed away because of the virus. And there's going to be many, many more. And it's time that we hold hands and put our differences away and pray that the virus would go away. Miracles happen, but I think probably all of us know somebody or some family that has suffered because of a death or people ending up in the hospital. The other thing, it might sound like a crazy question, but I'm asking it because I don't want to be in a circumstance that people are going to say you should have known. And I guess I'm going to have to ask Rich this, Madam Mayor. At the town hall meeting that Mary's having on January 30th, even if it's through Zoom, Rich, would it still be legal if three or more of our council people were on Zoom on that town hall meeting? Would we be violating the Open Meetings Act? I guess I'm asking.
Harvey, that's a great question. You aren't going to be making, as a body, you're not making any decisions or deliberating. it is nothing different than if you were, for instance, attending the tree lighting ceremony and all of you were there. So I don't believe that that is something that would be any violation.
Great, good, thank you. So Mary, we're going to be there. Madam Mayor, that's it. Thank you so much. And everybody have a wonderful evening.
Okay. So Councilman Curley said he will be there, and they said we. So that has, I don't want to speak for council. Then we have Councilwoman Moore.
Thank you. One thing I just wanted to define. We as the council members for the city of Eastpointe, we're here to help to make policy. And I know as we're making policy, we have a good debate. We go back and forth to understand what we're making policies about. We want to ensure that we make the right decision. There are moments where we have to change wording, and we want to make sure that we get it right. So it may seem like we are going back and forth, but we are actually in the process at that time of creating a policy. And we just want to make sure that we have the wording right. So that's just to the note of the lady who said that it seemed like we were going back and forth, but that's how policies are made. And then we take a vote on it. We just want to make sure that we do it correctly the first time. And I also want to say that everyone needs to stay safe out there because COVID is on a rampage. It's bad out here. Keep your mask on, wash your hands, use your hand sanitizer, keep your social distancing. If somebody get too close, move back yourself just to keep yourself protected and your loved ones protected. And that's all that I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman DeMonaco.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd like to just start with the day after our last council meeting. We had, of course, a large tragedy in our country at the U.S. Capitol. You know, we had domestic terrorism and insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, and everyone, of course, is very aware of that. It's, going to be in future textbooks that our kids are reading. But I think since then, we've had some good news. So we've had MLK Day since, and of course, since, as the two council people before me been talking about COVID, I tried to do something that I could do socially distanced. So I started reading, I started reading a couple weeks ago, but continued to read a book called The New Jim Crow. I highly recommend. It's very eye-opening if anybody's looking for a racial justice book. So take a look at that if you can. And then, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, not only for a peaceful transition of power, but for a president that recognizes COVID-19 so that hopefully we can bring this to a close. Just before our meeting at the National Mall, there was a memorial for the more than 400,000, as Mr. Curley said, that have died from COVID. There was a memorial there. And I'm just looking forward to, as everyone else is, I'm sure, try to enjoy at least some of the summer. Hopefully we can get some vaccines and get back to normal. Zoom's nice, but it's nice to see people too. And even better news, my brother and his significant other are soon to have a baby, and I'll have a new niece here. Sounds like it's going to be tomorrow and not today, but soon enough, we'll have a niece, Mirabelle. So I just wanted to share that. And that's all I had, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you and congratulations. We have Councilwoman Lucido. Ms. Lucido. Can't hear you, ma'am.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam
Okay.
Mayor. First,
Thank
I would like to take a minute to thank the Macomb County Ministers Alliance and Kevin Lancaster of Love Life Church for putting on a great presentation yesterday. I know usually we have the opportunity to go to the breakfast, but with COVID this year, they did it online. They did it virtually, so it was on TV. and it was really good. I really enjoyed watching it. I think they always do a fantastic job with that program, recognizing Martin Luther King Day. So I do want to give a shout out to them because it was really nice. And then I just like to, I have a couple of comments on the hearing of the public. And first to Chef Lex, I would like to thank you for coming out. I appreciate you recognizing the fact that sometimes these conversations, they may seem frivolous to some people, but it's necessary for us to have those conversations and, work things out. And we don't always agree. We don't always agree on certain things. I might agree with one person on one thing and someone else was on something else. But that's why we have this democracy. And that's what makes it work. I respect every single one of my colleagues sitting up here. So, and then to Miss Easley, she knows because I was at the last rare meeting. I did speak on behalf of the bounce houses. I believe her intention was she was trying to encourage other council members to attend maybe a rare meeting to speak on her behalf or to give their opinions on it. I think that's where she was coming from. But I am very aware of Miss Easley's business and what rare is trying to pass. I understand that they are a separate board. We have no control over what they do. So they have that authority but we can always go to their meetings, which are the second Wednesday of the month at 4 p.m. and still voice our opinions, even though we don't actually have the decision-making power on that board. And then to Miss Kimley Naylor, I believe DPW does have an employee that goes out to mark the sidewalks. So Miss Doom probably can give you that information to that contact so he can come out and show you which ones need to be replaced. And to Mr. DeHunt, thank you for bringing up about the inauguration tomorrow. I agree. This is a time for all of us to come together with the things that happened last week at the Capitol building. I think it's a good time to show unity. I feel like in Eastpointe, we do a pretty good job of showing unity, and that is always appreciated. And that's all I have this evening, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all council for your reports. I want to congratulate our new president and vice president tomorrow. That's very exciting too. We just had the first African-American President Obama. Now we have a female African-American woman vice president. So I'm so excited to see that our country is changing and getting more diverse. And I hope everyone had a happy MLK. It was for him. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here. And more people like Martin Luther King. And I am so excited to be here because, all the work that he did. It's funny because I actually know a guy that grew up with Martin Luther King, and we spoke a couple days ago, and he told me the things he went through and Mr. King did. So he's probably like a couple of the last couple of people that actually grew up with Mr. King. So it was an honor to be able to talk to somebody that actually knew him, grew up with him, and grew up with his father. Martin Luther King's father raised him. So, to have somebody who's actually there in the Jim Crow days can tell you actually what happened and understand what I go through as well, because those days are still, as you can see with Capitol Hill, we're still dealing with a lot of different things, even in today. And so also I would like to thank everyone for attending tonight's meeting, and would ask each and every one of you to tell a friend and a neighbor and keep coming to the meetings, keep joining in, and also email us. If you can't make it, email us with your concerns. We care. And also we have an election this year, I believe. So pay attention to those that are running and what they say and what they do for their community and who they are. And because it's important. It really is important. As you can see in this past election, who you vote for and who represents you is important. So tell a neighbor, tell a friend, tell an enemy that this year it's time to elect, and elect the right people, not just by the last name or by the funding, but their heart. Also, I would like to send a prayer to one of our oldest businesses, the Villa. They had a passing. I knew the family. They supported me as my councilwoman seat, as well as my mayoral seat. You guys know what I'm saying, but I got these braces in. But mayoral seat, and it's hard to hear when people are just losing their lives. We have COVID and people are committing suicide. People are domestic violence and getting killed. And even children are talking about suicidal thoughts and depression. Many people have shared that with me. And so we got more things to worry about than the things that we've spent almost 2 hours on a day. And I think that's what the residents are talking about. We have bigger issues. We're dealing with COVID, we're dealing with death, we're dealing with a lot of things. Let's talk about real issues. Also, I want to continuously pray for the family of Brian Theobald family, who was a DPW worker with the city of Eastpointe, and the family, and not only the family, but the friends and the employees are affected. We are affected every time we lose someone, a worker, a resident, anybody, a family member. We are always, we are hurt, and we're continuously sending our prayers out to their family. And again, we have a election this year, so we push the people that are wanting to run, that are positive, and to let everybody know this is election year. I know a lot of times people don't pay attention, but it's time to pay attention and elect the people that represent you. And saying that, we are going to adjournment. Can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Moved.
Support.
There you go. Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonaco,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned. You guys have a good night.
Good
You as well.
night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.